All right, we have an Excel spreadsheet here, and it's a very simple introduction to Excel spreadsheets. On the left-hand side, we have a calendar that we're creating for August, and it's got all of these cells are manually created for the month, so that's not a whole lot of fun there. It's a little bit monotonous. But the right-hand side here with this tabular information, we do use functions on the right hand side, so it gets a little more interesting on the right hand side. But anyway, this is an introductory, get your feet wet kind of situation to learn a little bit about Excel spreadsheets if you have never used it. Let's uh, let's take this working project here and mimic it in a new tab. So I want to insert actually a new worksheet. I want to insert a worksheet. It's called Sheet 3. I want to right click the tab down here and hit rename, and I'm going to rename it Practice. And then I'm going to drag the Paychecks tab back to the beginning because I want my original on the left and my practice on the right. That just is how I want to do it. We are going to start off with 3 rectangles. One rectangle will create our calendar. Then to the right we have another rectangle that will create our tabular data, and then we have another rectangle that basically is a background to both of them, that you see this white out area, white background with no grid marks. So with that being said, let's get started. Let's start off with the fact that our month, this is our month, and we are ignoring row 1A, and we're ignoring row 1, and we're ignoring column A. We're going straight to B2. We're taking it from B to H, and we're taking it all the way to line 18. So going to practice, I start at B, I go to H, and I take it to 18. I right click, I format my cells, and I would like to give it a thick border. So click on the thick line here, and then click on the outline and click OK. That's going to be our calendar. Now let's look at our tabular data rectangle portion. That's going to go from column I all the way to column Q, and that's all we need to know for now is from I to Q. We're going to create another rectangle. Let me take that back. It's actually from, no, it's from I to Q. It's our outer rectangle that goes to R. So sorry about that. So from I to Q, all the way down, right click, format cells, make sure the fat one is picked, and click outline and OK. Now let's do that outer rectangle. And the outer rectangle starts all the way at cell 1A, which is row 1 and column A, and it goes all the way to R, and it goes down to row 21. So we want to go down to 21 and over to R. Down to 21 and over to R. Right click it, format cells, thick line, outline, OK. So now we have our 3 rectangles that we're going to start off with. Let's get rid of those grid lines for the outermost rectangle. To do that, we will highlight column A. Now hold your control button down while we highlight these other portions that we want to eradicate our grid lines. So holding that down, we are going to fill in this little spot, and go up here, we're going to fill this spot, and we're going to fill this spot. Right click it, format cells, patterns, click the white, and then click OK. So now you cannot see the grid lines. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create headers for the calendar and for our tabular data. So if you notice here in our calendar, we have August 2019 paychecks, and instead of having 7 different cells, when you click on it, it's one single cell. The way we have one single cell out of 7 is by merging them. So let's highlight all 7 cells here at the top, right click, Format Cells, Alignment, Merge Cells. Then go to Patterns to give it a background color. Let's go with this lavender. And for border, we want a thick outer border. Click OK, and there's everything. Now I want everything that I create to be centered. If you don't originally set everything to center, some things will align to the left of the cell, some things will align to the right of the cell, some things will be centered. I want everything to be centered, so I'm going to go underneath our project, not up here, not up here, not up here, but underneath all of this, click one of these cells and hit Control A to highlight everything. Once I've done that, I'm going to go up here to this icon that says center. You see this one says align left, this one says center, this one says align right. I want to go to the center. So it's going to align everything that I do to the center, and that's what I want. Another thing, and I'm not sure if this will work for me now or if I have to input my data and then do it, but for the heck of it, this will be the first time I tried it this way. I'm going to Control A to highlight everything again. I'm going to go to Format, Row, Auto Fit, Format Column, Auto Fit Selection. Now, if this doesn't work because there's no data in there already, then we're going to have to do this again. But I thought I might see if this will auto wide things. It may not. You'll see what I mean in a minute if it doesn't work. So let's put the title in for the calendar. I'm going to hit my caps lock so that I get all caps. August 2019 Paychecks. I also want my tabular data to have a title bar as well. And this time I'm not going to merge these cells. I just want them to have a background color, and I want them to have a border, an outer border and an inner border. So let's fix that. This is our tabular data section. Just highlight the single row you want to deal with, right click it, format, and let's think of all the things we want to do. I want a thick outer border, but I want a thin inside border. And then in patterns, I would like to give it a color. Let's give it the same purple. Okay. What are the captions? Hourly rate and hours worked. Whoa. I had to take the caps locks off. Hourly rate, tab, hours worked. Okay, this is what I wondered if I was fixing by doing that step ahead of time. And it does not work until you put data in the cells. That's okay. I'll fill in as much data as I need to, and I'll fix it after the fact. When you see this spillover, there's a few things you can do to fix it. There's one step that you can do after you type everything in, or if this aggravates you because you don't like how you can't read what you're looking at, you can come up here to this I column, and on the right hand side, double click it, and it'll open it up for you now instead of having to wait later. You can go to the J tab as well, double click it, and it'll open it up just as much as it needs to, depending on the amount of text inside. Let's go back to what else we need. Hourly rate, hours worked, base pay and overtime. So let's go here for base pay. You can hit the tab, which will automatically take you to L. Overtime, tab will automatically take you to M. Let's see what that is. M is bonus and N is total pay. So bonus and total pay are the next ones. Bonus tab, total pay tab. What's after that? Actual hours, actual gross, and actual net. Actual hours tab, actual gross tab, actual net. Now again, you can see how these are squished until you go to the column and right click the right side of the column. Go to the next column, click on the right of it, and so on and so forth. That's one way to fix it as you go. Okay, so let's look back at our calendar part again. We have 3 rows for each section. For Sunday the 28th, we have 28 because it's the 28th day. This is actually for the month before. And then on that day, the work hours were 4:30 p to 1:30 a. And then lastly, we manually put in how many hours we got credit for those hours. So, let's see, before I do that, I'm trying to think of the simplest way to do this. You can do this in different orders, and some ways are a little more simple than others. Um, let's see. Before I do that, let's highlight. Wait a minute, I think I still have to put the days of the week. Yeah, I still have to put the days of the week. What am I doing? Let's just do the days of the week first. I'm getting ahead of myself. Format cells. Patterns. Let's give it a different color. Let's give it a thin outline and inside border. And Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm tabbing to get to each of these cells. All right, now as you can see, there's a little bit of spillover. Wednesday, the column is not big enough, wide enough, but I'll show you the other way that we can fix this in a moment. Let's check what happens next. Now we want to highlight the days of the month. We did the days of the week, now we want to highlight the days of the month. So we are going to take this and just right click it, format cells, patterns. Let's give it a light blue. And the border, again, I want it to be the same as the row above it. I want it to have a thin outline and inside border. It starts with the 28th, and we have 31 days before we get Thursday the 1st. Oh, I'm doing it wrong. Okay, you can highlight all this and just hit delete to get rid of your mistake. Now we have the time. Now I want to make sure that no matter how wide the user wants to type, that we get a nice super wide width. So I'm going to think of the widest thing I could possibly type in here, which would be like 12:45 to 12:45. That's pretty wide. I don't think, oh yeah, we could get wider. We could put 12:45 p.m. to 12:45 a.m. And to make it even wider, we could make those caps. And that would make it even wider. So just in case the user wants to type it like that. Now you take that cell, Control C to copy it, and Control V to paste it in every other column. Now we really have a mess. Let's fix that mess before we do anything else. Go down below our project, click in one of these cells, not up here, not up here, not up here, but way down here. Hit Control A to highlight everything. Go to Format, Row Auto Fit, Format Column, Auto Fit Selection. Now it is automatically spaced for the widest possible input that you can imagine. Now, and we could have waited and done that step, and all of these would have automatically opened up as well. So again, there's more than one way to do the same thing. What else do we need? we have to manually put in how many hours that is. 12:45 is a 12-hour day. Let's say in a 12-hour day you get 2-hour long lunches. So we're going to take 2 hours off of a 12-hour day and you're going to get paid for 10 hours. Now you take this and you just copy it and Control V to paste it into all these other days. So now we have a super hectic 7-day, 12-hour, get paid for 10 situation going on here. The next thing I want to do is I want to have these 3 pieces of information bordered. And it looks like I don't have a border around my days of the month here, so I guess it doesn't really matter. You can put borders where you want or not where you don't want. But I'm going to take this and do a couple of things. I'm going to get rid of the grid marks by giving it a background color of white, and I'm going to give it a thin border. So let's format the cells. Let's give pattern white, and let's give border, I want it to be thin. Thin outline and inside. Now, do you like it with all the border lines, or do you like it better like this? It looks a little cleaner without all the lines. So I think we're going to drop the lines. So let's drop the lines. Let's go through all of this. Format cells, border. Click none to get rid of all the borders. And then just click outline. Now that's interesting, but I would at least like the borders for each day. So I'm going to individually highlight just the 3 cells that I want at a time. I'm going to hit Control, these 3. I'm still holding the Control button in, but instead of highlighting these all at once, I'm using my mouse to individually highlight all of those. Right click, Format Cells, Border. I want to outline it. And let's see if that does what I want. That's what I want. It's a little cleaner. Now, to cheat, we can copy that whole week. And really, you don't even have to highlight the whole thing. You could pick one cell underneath it and paste it, and it'll copy that whole thing. Now, you don't necessarily want to copy the wrong days of the month. So you can take this first copy and paste, and technically you can really get rid of all the information except for the background color and the border. And now you can take this fresh version and you can copy and paste this for the remaining weeks. Alright, so now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in your month. Alright, now you want to fix the rest of the days. Once you do enough manual calendars, once you feel how tedious it is, and you finally learn how to make an automated calendar, you really start to enjoy programming. Okay, so it ends on Saturday the 31st. Let's double check, and yes, it ends on Saturday the 31st. We can type in these same hours if you want, or the functionality in the tabular portion doesn't really care what you put in here or how you put it. The only thing it really cares about is the rows that give you the numbers for the math. when we add up all of these hours to get us our total hours worked. So we can just put some random time. Let's say you worked 8 hours here. Let's say you were off here and you worked no hours. You don't even have to put 0. You can leave it blank. You worked 10 hours here. You worked, oh, you were sick. You went home after that. You worked 10 hours. You worked 8 hours and you worked 4 hours. That's really strange. But anyway, that'll get you going there. Now let's do a straight 40. 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, 0, and 0. We already got overtime here. This is off. This is straight 40. Let's really work your ass off this week. Let's give you off here. And the last week. And again, I'm not going to put anything here. So that even if you have nulls, it'll still work. No value. So, you would probably want to put something in here, but for the purposes of the functions that we're going to do over here, what you put in these rows doesn't matter. Only, again, only these numeric rows. So let's go back to our tabular section and let's work on it. As you can see, this portion is lined up straight against the hours row. So we want to emulate that by finding our hours row, which is here, and highlight that whole thing across. Right click it and format the cells, go to border. Let's go with the double border. And we want to double border the outline and then thin line the inside. That's what we want to do. And I put it in the wrong spot. Did I put it in the wrong spot? No, I put it in the right spot. Do we want to, oh, this is not colorized, so you can colorize it if you want to or leave it alone. Let's take this thing and if you highlight it, Control C to copy it and paste it in all the other rows that line up with the hours. Okay, so far so good. Double click out of there so that the focus is no longer on this row, and let's get rid of these grid marks by giving it a background color of white. So highlight this, hold your control key down and highlight all these sections in between our the information that we want so that we don't have these ugly grid marks where we don't want them. Alright, so that's all highlighted. Right click it, format the cells, patterns, white, okay. Okay, good to go. You may even want to give this a background color if you think it makes it look nicer. I didn't do it in the original one, but we can do it in this one. Maybe we can give it a light green or something. Format, patterns, here's a soft green. Now the actual hours, actual gross, and actual net will be what you copy from your pay stub instead of what your projections. The functionality that we put into this are going to be projections. Your actual paycheck will be specific to the time clock. This is just, you know, you're going to be working these hours, but you may be a little late or a little early, or you may go home early. Something may change. You may work over a little bit, so your actual paycheck will probably vary just a little bit. So let's change this to a darker green or maybe a different color. Maybe this green, because this is going to be the actual pay stub that you're going to compare the pay stub figures numbers with what your projections were. to make sure everything pans out okay. So now we're going to get to the fun stuff. We're going to get to the functions. The hourly rate you have to put in manually, but we would like to format everything that we want to see a dollar sign, we'd like to format as currency. So click one, hold your control key down, and click all the cells that you'd like to see a dollar sign. Hours worked, no, you don't want a dollar sign there. Base pay, you do. Whoops, not that. Aw, come on, how do I undo you? The overtime you want to highlight. The bonus, we're going to not put dollar signs because we might want a bonus could be a gift or it could be a money amount on your paycheck. You do want your total pay to have a dollar sign, so let's click those. The actual hours, no. The actual gross and net. It's starting to rain like cats and dogs outside. Now I think this is going to give me a dollar sign, but we're not going to really use this, but I can undo this in a minute. Right click this, format cells, go to number and hit currency, then OK. This, I don't want this to be currency. This really is nothing, but I just don't want that to be currency, so I'm just going to say that it's general. All right. So we formatted our cells to have a dollar sign or not. I also want to make sure, I can't recall, I want all of these to be formatted as text because no matter how the user types it in, I don't want it to, for instance, let's see here. What if they said that they worked from 3 to 5 and click enter? If you just hit 3-5, it turns into a date. We don't want that. We want the user to be able to type whatever, and if you're the user especially, we don't want that weirdness to happen. So everywhere that we have the clock in, clock out, we want to highlight. So highlight that row, hold control, and highlight all the rest of these rows where you're going to be typing what your schedule is. Right click that, format it. Now under the number category, you want to put text. That says text format cells are treated as text even when a number is in the cell. The cell is displayed exactly as entered, and that's what we want. So click OK to that. Now this gives us a strange thing that you know we didn't type that, so you want to change that. You could either double click in here to get an insertion point, or you can go up here. This thing is kind of like an address bar, and back out of it, backspace out of it, and type 3-8P, and you know that that's 3 to 8 p.m., and that will never change. Now that you've changed that to a text format, you can type it any way you want. It won't change to a date. What else? Oh, now to the fun part. The hourly rate, we're going to say that you make $20.45 an hour. When you click out of that, you'll automatically get your dollar sign because we formatted it as currency. The hours worked is going to be a function. So click inside of here and then put the equal sign, the word sum, an opening parenthesis, and then go back to your calendar and highlight all the hours of the week. Then hit enter, and this automatically calculates all your hours of the week. There's a little warning here that, wait, what did it say? The formula in the cell refers to a range that has additional numbers adjacent to it. Yeah, this $20 hourly rate is adjacent to all of these numbers. So we don't want to add that hourly rate to our hours worked, so we just ignore that error because we don't want to worry about that. So when we click on this 70, you can see up here equals sum and in parentheses B6 colon H6. That means that every cell between B6 and H6, including those cells as well, are going to be added to each other. Instead of going through that whole process over and over again, you can simply take this cell And you can Control C to copy it and just paste it in all of these other cells, and it will automatically put the formula in based on these cell identities. Double click out of there. See, this is highlighted. This has got the focus. Double click somewhere out of there and it'll take the focus away. Now, interestingly, this gave us our hours worked, but I didn't put the hourly rate. You can put differently hourly rates in, and these functions will change based on the hourly rate, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to just copy and paste this hourly rate as the same all the way down, because we're assuming that this is creating a project for one person's income. And we're getting that same error here because it wants to know, did we miss this number? So we just ignore that because we don't want them to add 20.45 to the hours worked. Why won't this give me that? Why is it not showing up? Ignore error. All right. Now let's get to the function for base pay. Base pay is something that's conditional. What is the condition? Well, it has to do with 40-hour work week. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a peek at our paychecks that's already working, and we're going to click our base pay and look at the formula. Instead of using equals sum, we're using equals if, since this is a condition. You've got three portions inside of parentheses, and each portion is separated by a comma. The first portion here is the condition. If J6 is greater than 40, well, J6 is our hours worked section right here, and it happens to be 40 in this example. If J6 is greater than 40, comma, if it's true, then we're going to do this. We're going to take I6, which happens to be our hourly rate, and we're going to multiply it by 40. Then we have another comma where we're going to take this expression. If it is not greater than 40 hours, you're just going to take the value of the hourly rate and you're going to multiply it by J6, which is whatever the number that represents cell J6. I6 and J6 are going to be multiplied together. So let's put that in our practice for base pay. Click the first base pay, or double click it so you get the insertion point, equals if opening parenthesis, and then you can click right here on hours worked and it'll automatically tell you what that cell name is, which is J6. If J6 is greater than 40, that's the condition, comma, if that's true, then you want hourly rate, click hourly rate here, I6 times 40, comma, if the hours worked is not 40, if J6 is not greater than 40, then you want to take hours worked and you want to multiply hours worked times the cell here, J6. Instead of multiplying it by 40, you want to multiply it by whatever that J6 is, because it could be 30, it could be 20. Close your parenthesis and click enter. So your base pay for $20.45 at 70 hours is going to be $20.45 times 40. So let's take our calculator and prove that to ourselves. $20.45 times 40 hours, that's going to give us our base pay without overtime, $818. Now we can take this cell, you can either hit Control C or right click copy, and then right click paste, or Control V to paste, whichever way you prefer, and put it in each of these base pay cells. It will give you the proper formula for the proper cells preceding it. Now let's get to the interesting overtime portion. Let's look at our little cheating Paychecks project, where overtime is another if condition. So we're going to type in equals if. Again, our condition is J6 greater than 40, comma, our hourly rate will be multiplied by 1.5 because we want time and a half, and then we're going to take that and multiply that by whatever your hours worked is minus 40, because you only want the excess of 40 hours. So you have to subtract 40 from it just to get the excess. So if your hours worked are greater than 40, then you're going to take your hourly rate times 1.5 times however many hours are in excess of 40, if that's true. If it's false, you have after the comma a 0, which indicates you don't get any overtime. So let's see if I can input that correctly. I have to double click out of the project to make sure that I don't have a focus on any of these functions, because otherwise when I flip over to my worksheet I can get error messages and stuff. So I have to be clear that I'm out of focus. So now I'm into the overtime. I'm going to double click in here. So this has the focus now. Equals if opening parenthesis. Now if my hours worked, I can click on the hours worked, then go back here, greater than 40, that's my condition, comma. If it's true, then my hourly rate will be multiplied by 1.5, which will be multiplied by, in parentheses, my hours worked minus my base of 40, close that parenthesis. If we don't work more than 40 hours, then we have to give them 0 overtime. And then close your outer parentheses there. And then hit enter. And that should do the trick. So, if you work 70 hours, you will have a base pay of $818 and $60.68 of overtime. Somehow that doesn't sound right, does it? I don't know if I've got an error, but let's check. I don't know why that doesn't sound right, but it doesn't. So here's our calculator. 70 hours minus 40, that's 30 hours of overtime. 30 hours of overtime. What is the rate for overtime? It's $20.45 times 1.5, $30.68 times 30 hours. Yeah, something's very wrong with our function. What is it? Ah, can you see right here? This is a plus symbol. I meant to type in a multiplication symbol. So, there we have it. Yeah, boo-boos are easy to make. All right. So $920.25 is what our calculator showed us. So we have our base pay of $818, and our overtime is more than we made on our base pay, so that's pretty sweet. But you're almost dead working that many hours in a week. Bonus we're going to leave alone. Total pay we'll get to here in a second, but let's take this formula and copy it and paste it in all of these other cells that we'd like to use the formula. And as you can see, the moment that I paste it, it automatically populates. If you work 40 hours, you get no overtime. If you work 45 hours, you get $153.38. What if you only worked, I wonder if I can change this. I probably can't because it's automatically generated. Now I can't get out of there. Oh my God, now I'm screwing everything up. Oh my God. All right. Oh, I ruined everything. Okay, let's go back to this formula and copy and paste it here. That should fix everything. Eventually, you will protect your worksheet so that you don't accidentally screw things up like I just did. Okay, what I wanted to figure out is what if this was only 1 hour overtime? I guess it doesn't make a difference. I can take this 4 and turn it into a 0. Now I have 41 hours. And this shows you that your 40 hours are $818 and your 1 extra hour of overtime is $30.68. Again, if you forgot, for 20 hours and $20.45 times 1.5, 1 hour of overtime is $30.675, which is rounded to 0.68, $30.68. Okay, so we did those two. The bonus we're going to leave alone. The total pay is easy enough. We are going to take, we're going to click in here. We're going to put equals the word sum again, and then opening parentheses, and we're going to just highlight these three things because we want the base pay plus the overtime plus the bonus if it's monetary. Then close this parenthesis and hit enter. This gives you your amount. Now watch if the bonus is a DVD player. It doesn't change the amount. And of course now we need to highlight the M column and right click the right of it to make it a larger place to type. But that's if it was a DVD player. Notice the total pay is $1738.25. What if the bonus was, trying to highlight this, $100? This will change from $1738 to $1838. So it's kind of nice that you've got that, that flexibility. We're going to say he gets a cookie for a bonus. Now, we have finished all of the functions. They're very generic, but it's interesting to learn how to toy around with this and Google different Excel functions so that you can learn how to do so much more. Play around with Excel, and if you're learning how to program using JavaScript, you can take examples from your Excel functions and incorporate them into your JavaScript functions or your other programming functions to do different things that maybe you weren't thinking about doing before. Help you out there. Again, the actual hours, actual gross, and actual net columns are for you to put once you get your pay stub, and then you can compare how close were you. Because of course, this project does not take into account deductions for medical, for child support, for taxes, and whatever else you may have coming out of your paycheck garnishments or whatever. So those can be extra columns with extra functions that you can add once you get comfortable with doing this. But I didn't finish this because I didn't take this function and copy it down into our total pay for the rest of these. So let's go ahead and do that. And as you can see, they work automatically. Now, let's say you wanted to compare somebody else's paycheck. What's somebody else's paycheck going to look like with the same amount of hours? Instead of $20.45, let's change this to $10. Now, watch the difference. It's a big difference, isn't it? Let's talk about $8.55, which they think anybody should live off of, which is so wrong. Yeah, you only make $726 for working 70 hours that week. That's not even cool. 40 hours, which is basic. That's really not cool. And for all of those places that want to give you minimum wage, part-time hours, $171 times 4. Let's take a look at that. $171 times 4, and this is before taxes and any other deductions, $684 a month. Where after you take taxes and possible other deductions out and medical, which is expensive, you may be looking at $300 or $400 a month. If anybody can tell me how you can pay for a car, a house, an apartment, food, and utilities with this amount per month, if you can show me how to do it, I'll do a backflip. You can't. So, anyway, check this out if you have access to Excel. And I think that there's like Google Docs or different things that you can, different apps that are like these type of spreadsheets. If you don't have Microsoft Office, you can play around with this stuff with these different apps that are out there that are trying to mimic these products as well. And yeah, get your programming on.